Dear students, good morning. Today we are going to see a new topic, that is stylistics. In the stylistics, Unit 1 is prescribed as an stylistics and overview. In an overview, we are going to see what is stylistics, how it has developed, and what is the contribution of stylistics in the literature. So in general, stylistics comes from the discipline literature. So stylistics is none other than it is a form of a literature which we have taken from the language. Generally, the study of language is called as linguistics. So stylistics comes under one of the discipline from the linguistics. So literature and language tie up together. Likewise, linguistics and stylistics tied up together. In a form of linguistic, we have comes under phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and fifth form is stylistics. In this first unit, we are going to see completely what is called stylistics and how stylistics has been influenced in the literature. The general definition of stylistics is the study of science. It has taken a study of text from an literature of any genre like novel, poetry, prose or drama, even it has been a one-act play or a prose. We are going to do an interpretation of linguistics in the literary text, and this stylistics has been called as an ornament of language. It has been given by the different types of author in a different way, and they used to make a design over their writing style, and such a writing style in their literature is called as an ornament of language. For the purpose, stylistics is highly helpful to do incorporate in the textbook. So linguistics, it is a wrapper between the stylistics form. As here it has been shown, linguistics is a discipline. It has an origin in a different form from the language, and stylistics is one of the discipline that has taken from the linguistic. And we are going to see in this overview that what is an origin of stylistics, scope of stylistics, and growth and nature of stylistics. So the stylistics has been in a different structure, in a different form. On the base of stylistics, we have to incorporate and interpret about linguistics and also literary text. We are going to take a literary text, and one of the literary texts we are going to interpret the linguistics aspects, and while we are interpreting linguistics aspect, we are going to undergo the study of stylistics. We are going to take the theories of different stylisticians who have given the theory about stylistics under linguistics. The first one is Enquist. He is in stylistics who set up. He has said that there are some inventories and there are some descriptions which is all influence in language, and such can be taken as an aid of linguistics concept, and such can be taken in the form of linguistic concept in either maybe phonology or a morphology, or it is phoneme or a morpheme, or it may be considered as a semantic or syntactic way. The major objective of this unit, the overview of this unit is we are going to see what is linguistics, and from the linguistics how the methods of stylistics has been derived, and how stylistics is stand up in two ways. The one is literary criticism and another one is traditional criticism. So literary criticism generally comes under the literature, and through that we are going to see the traditional criticism, how the traditional criticism is taken as subject, and what is the subjective point of view and how it has turned into an objective point of view. On seeing the origin and growth of stylistics, we could say the sure that it is not a very distant one. The stylistics has just been a recent growth, and origin is just a distant one. It is a known one. So stylistics is the subject which has been freshly started in the year of 1950, and has separated a discipline that was not found in many university at the initial stage, and ready to made books available, which is all included only with the articles who have spoke, and who have written and paper under a research on the topic of stylistics is compiled a book for certain topics. There are no separate books for the origin, growth or the development of stylistics at the initial stage. As per on seeing the stylistics, there were no proper stents and they started to emerge with some limitations. So again, stylistics arose in the form of literary criticism, and people started to analyze the literary text on studying the literary criticism. So automatically, when they are analyzing the literary text and literary criticism, we could see the major objective as possible will be there in the stylistics. So on seeing that the stylistics not being taken care of, who is an author, what is the period of it, and what is the extra textual data, that is all based on stylistics. We don't have any enough of data on the base for the growth and the origin for the stylistics. Now, we are going to see what is called traditional criticism. Traditional criticism means here it has been given with the definition. It is going to analyze the author's life shown in the works, which is all include events, people, places in the literary works. So the traditional criticism is nothing but the base of tradition, where they origin from, the base of tradition, what it includes from, the base of events or the people or the places, what they involve with it. In this traditional criticism, we are going to have a close relationship between four major theories. The one is stylistics, and secondly Russian formalism, and thirdly French structuralism, and next a new criticism. So these four theories are correlated with one another under the topic traditional criticism. On reading the stylistics, on seeing the overview of stylistics, we could see that linguistics play a major role at a higher level on analyzing in detail what it has mixed and what the literary critics has been negotiated and neglected the stylistics. What is the reason for their negotiation on this topic? So stylistics is not been replaced by traditional criticism. We could see that stylistics is playing a subordinate role and not superior comparing to the literary criticism. On reading any of the literary text, we could found that the critics are emerged with the literary forms, literary styles, and literary notes. On reading their literary notes, we could see that stylistics has been a one of the part and one that can be played by in a linguistics form. So the major duty of stylistics in the literary text is they want to make a complementary of nature, and it is working together along with the interpretation of literary text. Without a language, we could not read or write the literary text. With the support of the literary text, we are just developing the form of language and the style of language. So under the study of language, that is the linguistics, we just take a one keynote. The form is style. The next theorist is M.I. Sastry. He is in stylistian essays. He just says that critic they want to attempt an explanation when they are defining the stylistic style of a writing. Without any sense of manner or a behavior, they could not say anything openly or outwardly. For a critic, when they are judging or analyzing the style of any of the author or a writer, they should be very grateful to the others. They should supply supporting evidence for the right statement and also for the wrong statement. And whenever the critics are giving the flow or the judgment, it should be as like a spontaneous judgment. The conclusion of the writing of the author given by the critic should be a spontaneous judgment, not by a creation. On the remark of M.I. Sastry, we could say that stylistics is concrete to textual feature, whereas criticism chooses to ignore text at one hand, and sometimes we can note of author's biography, thematic values, or author's historical data or author's background data who has been a supporter to the literary text. All these has to be analyzed when they are reading or seeing the stylistic aspect of literary text. The next critic, that is called stylistician, Malikarjun Patel, he states origin, growth, nature, and scope of stylistics in individual study. So it is not a combined one. Stylistics consists of a separate origin, separate growth, and there is a separate nature and scope for an individual study. He just aims at three major focus. The one is the stylistics is based on historical antecedents of style, and it consists of few theories, and we need to look on to the current trends on the matters of stylism. In addition, Patel has also added with an application of stylistics and how stylistics want to be teach with the literary text to the students while they are reading it or while they are analyzing it. For example, we can take on seeing this picture, we can view with the two style. The one is an Indian style that is based on Indian culture. The another one is Western style. So it doesn't mean that the writer who have failed to project the Western or the writer who have failed to project the Indian. It means the style of the author who wants to project the literary text for his novel or any of the plays or a prose or poetry, he or she are under the culture of Indianism or it is about the Western. So it's based on how the author has projected the style and given in a contrast the view of the Western style on the matter of Indianism. So while they are taking an Indianism, Westernism contrast. When taking the Westernism, Indianism constant. But two things are being considered as a style of an author. This is a major origin. After the base of origin, we could see that how the stylistic started to grow. Stylistics is a new subject which has been initiated in the year of 1960s, and it started to publish only through the style of language that is called antique language. Origin. It is in very old and the past writing and historical writing of the author in their literary text that has been taken, and slowly it has started to emerge on reading the styles of various authors in various genres in the literary text. They slowly arise with a growth. We will be well known to know if Aristotle, who is a Greek philosopher, long ago he has spoke about the stylistic, that it is a part of rhetoric and not a poetic one. It is not a poetical language. The stylistic should be considered as a rhetorical language. So he says three important parts of a literary writing to be considered. The one is figures of speech, the another one is syntax, and thirdly is about vocabulary. We could say that figures of speech is noun, verb, pronoun, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction, interjection. So all these are being considered as a figures of speech. The use of such figures of speech in the literary text by the author is also considered as a style. Next, the syntax. Syntax is nothing but the usage of phrases and sentences. Phrases and sentences is the most important part of a literary text. It not being taken as such that we can write it or we can scribble something in a novel or a drama. Phrase has to come. For example, it is raining like cat and dog. The rain is coming highly, heavily, without a stop. So such a huge rain and heavy rain is called as cat and dog. So I like to have this novel as like a cup of coffee, the cup of tea. The cup of tea is a phrase which was being used to indicate, that is, it is called a favor of writer. So sentence and phrase is most important, and that also being considered as a part of stylistics. In this part we can take an example of Tamil directors who has been in a different style with a different form. For example, Maniratnam. So Maniratnam says the style of projection of novel, that is a film making, it completely different from like a Shankar sir or Bala or Muruga, Murugadas or like Atli, or we can go with or some other different emerging directors. So on seeing Atli, we could see like a love making. And when going for Murugadas, it's like a social subject. On seeing a Shankar Sir's movies, it's all with a high budgets. We could not imagine such a view of projection scenario of the dance or the hero heroine dressing sense, and the same time the cast role play of the scenes where they have taken, and the projection, the expenses of the movie itself that has been easily seen. For example, we can take Endiran or 2.0 or or any other expensive movies, even from the jeans. When we are taking Bala's movie, the style that he has used is highly touching. like Paradesi or Pidamagan. So these movies are being highly touched by the spectators, that is the audience, who could feel like some embarrassing, what kind of a people are these, likewise. So the style of a director can be seen through their movies. That concept in writing is called as syntax. Next, vocabulary. The vocabulary also being a part of a sentences. Few vocabularies can be easily understood. That is called colloquial language. So it is come the common base. And few like a layman. The layman is like a common people of day-to-day language. And few language like a bombastic one. Bombastic one that we could not understand the meaning very easily, as such we read it. So we are in the need of support for dictionaries. We should refer with the secondary sources or the background. For example, we can take a Bible. I like to have a Bible on my dressing table. This is a sentence. So on seeing the Bible, I was wondering that what is the need and purpose of Bible to be on the dressing table. Later on searching the vocabulary meaning for the Bible, it has to be understood that Bible is not a religious source or the religious preaching resources or an object or a textbook. Bible is a source of cosmetics. So the another meaning for Bible is a cosmetic product. So the cosmetic is while they are doing or makeup, or while they are standing before the mirror of dressing table, the girl needs to have a Bible. That is, the girl wish to have some cosmetic product on the dressing table. So vocabulary is most important, and vocabulary is an enrichment of the language. While we are reading the literary text, we should ensure about the vocabulary, how much it has been effective and how much it has been fruitful to read. So this also comes under the style. So Aristotle has saying that producing certain effects to the audience is must in a rhetoric way, not in a poetic way. On secondly, Aristotle's intuition is to institute of oratory. He have taken the works of Quintilian during first century. The same thing has been found in European modern times. In this celebrated essay entitled as Discourse on Style, Count de Buffon in 1707 to 1788. So this work has been viewed with a style of rhetoric in. On seeing the result of this work, this is the process of writing, how to write. So the discourse on style, the discourse is to project the views and the ways, the usage of style. So this is an initiation of the book which has been shown the process of writing. Next to the Aristotle, we could found the linguistians, that is Ferdinand de Saussure in the year of 1857 to 1913, Charles Bailey in 1865 to 1947, Leo Spitzer in 1887 to 1960s. So all these stylistians alongly linguistians, they just fresh force for the new growth of the subject, that is style. What we can style and how we can take style to the next category, and what we can be called as a stylician. Next, Spitzer, he just made a research on the literary stylistics. He just brought a criticism of stylistics, and without forehand, he has thought, imagined, and brought out idea that style can be as a prior judgment. So he has, during his research, he has thought, he has imagined, and he brought out the idea that stylistics is completely a pure judgment of writing in a literary text. Next, so on reading the critical writings, many of the works can be grasped with source world, that is called spiritual statement. That source world have to be intuitively click. That is spontaneous ideas have to be understood in order of reading the literary text by the writers. And thirdly, hypothesis. That here theoristians has stated, that is the linguistic has stated, we need to make an investigation and we need to do an experimentation that how the thoughts and ideas has been exploring by the authors in the literary text and how they just establishing the thoughts and how they are bringing out the philosophical circle in their writing. The next critic is Sazuri. So Ferdinand de Sazuri, he has initiated a new term called structuralism. Structuralism is nothing but structure, the key ideas. So in the structure of a sentences, for example, we can take the structure of a sentence: S plus V plus O, subject plus verb plus object. So such a structuralism is being defined differently by different authors in the literary text that can also be considered as a stylistics. He has influenced with the other linguistians like Roman Jacobson, John Mukherjee, René Well. So these people have taken their practice of study under a Prague school. So linguistics has expressed few features of creative utterance and they have studied objectively to understand what is stylistics. People who have came from Prague school, they have taken an important link between literary criticism and study of linguistic stylistics. So literary criticism is completely different from the study of linguistic stylistics. Now, apart from the stylistians and linguistics, we could also be considered with structuralist. One who brought out the theory of structuralism is called a structuralist. The few structuralists are Edward Spear and Leonard Bloomfield. The period of Edward from 1884 to 1939 and Leonard Bloomfield from 1887 to 1947. So these two structuralistic has brought out an approach to literature in the form that stylistics and structuralism is nothing but it is an aspect of surface structure that we are investigating from some deeper level. The structure of the sentence. Generally, the structure of the sentence is divided in two ways. The one is basic level and another one is deep level. Basic level is none other than that we are doing giving a sentence in a simple way. I wrote an exam. I wrote an exam. In a deep way, we are taking that I have written an exam in on at I have written English exam for my model examination with a fever at my home or during an online class. I feel that I have done it very wrongly. Likewise, we are making the real sense of it, what he has written. In a basic level of the sentence, we could not found an answer for what he has written, when he has written, how he has written, and for what purpose he has written an exam. Likewise, we could not found an answers for few WH. In a deeper level of a sentences, in a deeper level of a surface sentences, we could have an investigation that when he has written, what he has written, who has written, for whom has written, likewise. So structuralism is a study of inner form of the work. Along with the structuralism, we just emphasizing the stylistics in a few aspects. That is, we are just coming through the particularity of style, individuality of a style, and concreteness, that is the realness, reality of the style. So whenever we are reading any of the literary texts, we should know the particular meaning for the term which was written by the author. Then individuality. What was the individuality of the author for his writing style? For example, Shankar. The Shankar movies are highly projection. It is expensive, luxurious, and languages are highly be seen. He has used the science fiction. Likewise, we can list out the individuality of the director Shankar. Next, reality. Whether Shankar's movies are being shown with the reality as like the movies of Bala, like Paradesi or other movies. So here, Stylistics is based on a particularity, individuality and concreteness. At the same time, we can make an individual works of a stylistics to recognize and also sometimes to separate and also to physiognomy for to consider with the salient features. That is, it is a predominant temper. We can take certain qualities into the mind to consider the characteristics of stylistics. Next, Clady Levy. Stratus. He has elaborated stylistics, that is, the literature combines with the three major focus. So he has divided stylistics in three forms. The first form is anthropology, and secondly, linguistics, and thirdly, fundamental principle of human thinking. He have coined a term for such definition, which is none other than binary opposition. So according to Clavi Levi-Strauss, he has elaborated this study of stylistics in literature combines three aspects. The one is anthropology, in anotherly, secondly as a linguistics, and thirdly as binary opposition. And I.A. Richards. According to the theory of I.A. Richards, he has originated practical criticism for the emerge of new theory in year of 1930s. He has stated new insight to the growth of stylistics in three ways. The first one is close reading of the text. Secondly, paid no attention to the historical, and thirdly, geographical details of the text. So these three theories has been taken for the study of stylistics under the Richards. He have coined new term, that is I.A. Richards' new term is new criticism. So this new criticism is a threshold for the people under the study of modern stylistics. He began with the theory of John Crow's ransom, that is new criticism, and he states with the poem also considered to be a form of stylistics because form consists, every poem consists with like a figures of speech. The figures of speech is as we have already stated, the figures of speech is similarly metaphor, homophones, oxymoron. Likewise, the parts of speech and the figures of speech was also being implied with it. So poem is a legitimate object of a study to see in a large way and a grand way. The poet always using some decorative and ornamental words for their poetry. And it is a monumental thing in itself, and it is a highly ordered with an organism. Poem is highly influenced with the description of own sake. So few critics have started to form new theories, and such new theories are being not practiced, and such theories are called as the new criticism, and they emerge with new critics. In new criticism, we can also been able to see a form of structuralism as a part, which emphasizes objective study text. We can also see in an objective type that objective types helps to learn new words, new vocabularies, new phrases, and new sort of sentences in a new style of an author. The next stylistians, Rene Welk and Aston Warren. So these two persons, Rene Welk has stated from a literature, it is a linguistic art, and Aston Warren state language is a raw material. So language is an open one. We can take communication also language, writing a novel is a language, and reading a novel is a language. Speaking speaking something is also a language. So language is a raw material. It comes from a different person in a different form, in a different style. We could not define the speaking language will be like this for all the people who speaks English. It seems like all the communication is like in a way of understanding. So language is a raw material. In that raw material, the literature is being with its different genres like prose, poetry, drama, in a linguistic art. So under the study of stylistics, we are going to analyze what is linguistic and how we need and how we want to practice to read literature. And we are making and molding the raw material of language into a new form. For this, there is a formation of new book entitled as Transformation Generative Grammar Style in Language has been published by Noam Chomsky in the year of 1916. He has published as a member of social science research in the Council of Indian University, and in this new way was handling and laying internal works of languages, that how language is being influences. So in general, to see linguistics is an approaches of to literature. We can feel and we can enjoy the stuff of literature with the comment in a sensible way. Without bringing the linguistic effect from a literature, we could not bring out the value of judgment on reading the text, that this text is good, this text is bad. Once we have seen a movie, as usual, as it is, we just coming out from the theater or seeing a movie, within a second we just judging it. The movie is not with the good dialogues, the movie not projected with a good scenario, the movie is not projected with a good outcast. Before analyzing the style of the director and background of the director, giving a judgment is wrong. So linguistics with the support of stylistics will help to give a proper judgment on valuable text of literature. So here I am just stopping my class, that is all my lecture on the overview of stylistics, and this lecture will be followed with the second series. Thank you all.